Welcome back to Mostly Superheroes, another one in the basement. Today is Thursday, April 3rd, here in the St. Louis basement. We are sitting down with a friend of the show, one of my favorite spots in St. Louis. You've seen it on the podcast. We've been there before, and we're talking about the Royale Food and Spirits in St. Louis off Kings Highway. We're talking about amazing cocktails, amazing food menu, an amazing vibe, an amazing patio with great greenery and DJs and music and mayor debates and anything you can think of. It's happening at the Royale, and 20 years of the Royale Food and Spirits is around. You've seen them featured on Feast, Sauce Magazine, KDHX, Camo X. We know that RFT featured you guys, and then Steve Ewing featured you guys as one of his top favorite restaurants in St. Louis. Man, welcome to the studio, Stephen F. Smith.
Oh, thank you. Stop.
I told you, man, it's all about you. You're the star today, and you've been hosting me. I mean, honestly, me personally, I guess probably since about 2012, 13 or so. And here we are at 20 years of the Royale Food and Spirits on Kings Highway, and I'm so excited. You have a huge anniversary party coming up. I know it's like pretty much a 2-day event. I don't know if you've made it into a 3-day event yet. With a Friday kind of, I understand it as a friends and family past staff is coming to see you. And then Saturday, April 12th is your big public all-day event. And I know that you have stuff planned all day, but we'll get there, man. Steve, how are you?
I'm doing great. This is very early for a tavern keeper like me to be out. I usually am up at this time, but I'm not usually having functional conversations. So give me just a little bit of forgiveness if there's a little bit of spacing out, or it's
so far very coherent.
Thank you. Well, that cup of tea is helping, Logan. I appreciate it. You
enjoy the tea. It's a nice Thursday morning. We got a busy week and weekend ahead of us, and
that's true.
This is where we make this kind of stuff happen. So thanks for coming and changing up the routine a little bit for an early morning to tell people about what's going on at the Royale. I want to do a little look back with you over the last 20 years. And we've got all of your great places pulled up. You got the Royale.com. You're on Instagram at the Royale. That's with an E if you are following for the first time. And on Facebook, you can find all of your events and everything going on let's just talk about your programming at the Royale in general. 20 years. It's a mix of what I see as food, music, speaking events, movies, arts. I mean, this is your baby. This is what you do too, full time, right? The Royale is your gig.
Yeah, the Royale is my main interest. I've had some other interests from time to time, but right now this is my full interest. Been running it for 20 years and about a week or so. At this point, I was just scrambling to make sure all the paperwork was right 20 years ago, right before before I came into it. But the Royale, it definitely occupies my some of my focus. It's a good outlet too. It's a way to be in a community, be able to support the community as well. Being in the neighborhood is particularly key for me. I mean, obviously I serve the neighborhood just around me, but for people from St. Louis or even people who are not living here, they often consider this sort of like their home bar when they're back in town visiting. I just try to create that place that you sort of they call it a third place. If you ever heard these concepts, that's a popular one. They teach about it. There's studies on it. That's important for humanity. People have, you got your home life, you got your occupation, your work life, and then of course you got usually a third place, and that can be a different thing for different people. In a neighborhood bar, for people of my tradition, whether it's the living in a city or going back even to pub culture in Ireland, it's definitely a thing that's your third place. And sometimes it can be a diner, it could be a church, it could be a park, it could be a library, but at least that's where I like to keep it. So
yeah, and that's definitely what the vibe I felt, and it takes me back to whenever you hosted us in your space. We actually recorded in there in 2023, I believe, maybe 2022 at this point. And you spoke a lot about that, and I can speak personally of that's been my draw to you from day one, is that culture. I felt vibes of Chicago bars that kind of have Irish heritage, the
Mm-hmm.
one-shot dives. But then I
Mm-hmm.
always think of your place as like kind of stepping it all up.
Yeah. Well,
Like
that.
everything's elevated a little bit. Like you are a pub, but you're
Mm-hmm.
also like
Mm-hmm.
in my head fine dining, and
Mm-hmm.
also your cocktail game, and also just the beer selection too. From a beer drinker, I'm usually getting your beers. Carrie's usually
Mm-hmm.
getting, uh,
Cocktails.
and then
Yeah.
those fish tacos. Carrie asked me if you brought them this morning.
Too early. Too early. I would. I was thinking about that as I came in. I'm like, man, if this was later in the afternoon, I probably would have brought something. But
We'll plan
the
that next time.
next time we'll do a little bit appropriate timing. Yeah, just get me here on time is a big thing in the morning.
Yeah, today's tea and chatting. Next time
Yes,
we'll come to
tea and
you for
chatting.
tacos and beers.
Fun. Yeah, no, we you're right though. Like I'm originally from Chicago. I moved up there for a while looking whether or not to open up my spot up there back in it was like 2000, 99, 2000, 2001. And I was just trying to get aligned of where I wanted to put my focus in. And I realized that I was looking at music venues. I used to manage a spot called the Side Door Club with some great people over there, and that's kind of where I wanted to go. That's why I did a lot of production of concerts and later on boxing matches, but that's a whole other thing. And that's kind of what I was looking at doing, and then I decided to come back to St. Louis because I realized that all those things I could do here. So a lot of the vibe I got was absolutely from St. Louis, but also from Chicago and Milwaukee and even Ireland and just neighborhood spots, Midwest, Upper Midwest kind of vibe. And I knew that I wanted to do cocktails because while I appreciate some of these, as you call, shot dive type spots, which I absolutely hold a very close to my heart kind of vibe, I wanted to do something elevated beyond that, kind of set it up. And I've always said that it's the Royale I want to make sure was a place where you could hang out with your pals, you could take your dates, you could even take your mother too, and they would all think it's great. And it's hard to do a balance like that all the time because usually like your friends are like, yeah, I don't want to go to a tea room, or your lady's like, this place is a shithole. So I'm like, yeah, no, it's none of those things, but I also want to make it approachable enough to for anybody to go to. So you can be 21, you can be an old man, you can be pretty much anybody and be able to come in. And that's also sort of a business survival thing too, because if you're dependent on just being like a college bar, just post college bar, or just a sports bar, or just whatever those things are, then you live or die on basically that scene. So my scene, I try to ramp up. Now, granted, I have my interests, of course, but
Yeah.
and I have some things that I don't do that a lot of bars do, but that's fine, And that's what's so beautiful. Some people are like, your place, I don't like it at all. I'm like, well, that's the beautiful thing in St. Louis. You can just roll down Kings Highway or take a turn on Arsenal, you'll find something that you like, and that's great because I hope you find it because I'm not trying to be it for absolutely everybody. I'm just trying to make sure that everybody can be comfortable here.
Yeah, all in it together. But and you can feel that all that stuff, like the open arms and everybody's so welcoming. And where I want to spend a lot of our time, like especially as we go toward the other half of this episode, is current programming. Like I think you do so many fun things, and your menu's really intentional when it comes to your drinks and your food. It's seasonal, and you do informational and historical pieces that you share within your bar, and then you get the music, and we're all leading to 20 years of the Royale and your big party. And I kind of want to go towards that, but before we do that, I want to do a look back.
Yeah.
And so like before the Royale, and, we and there's a full great interview where we got to really do a deep dive with you, and go listen to that episode. Just go to mostlysuperheroes.com, search the Royale, and it was a really fun episode. In the Royale, you can hear the hustle and the bustle, and we got like a lot of your background. But one piece we didn't get, we'll have the link to this article from the RFT, RIP, Riverfront Times, the Boxers Rebellion. This is from 2003, man.
Okay,
So talk us through this.
Okay, so after college, I was looking to try to get in better shape, so I started to box. Thing is, the boxing really wasn't aimed at somebody in their 20s unless you're trying to go professional. I get it. That's not what it's supposed to be. So I decided to create a little bit of fun on my own. So we're training, and then we would just because you go to an amateur fight and I'm fighting a teenager, and I'm like, that's not my thing, and you might be able to find an occasional guy that's closer to your age. And I was like, yeah, that's still not my, it's, let's just, I want it to be a little more casual, but real, like you want to have a competitive basketball game. That's fine. You set it up, you go to the courts and you have some fun. Essentially, that's what we were doing. And that sort of, we threw one in my backyard over there off Macklin, and then we had another one around over behind the famous bar in Chippewa. We had one, a few in Dogtown. Anyway, they started going on. They were in backyards, first time to be like 40 people would show up, and then 100, and then 200, and then next thing you know, I've got a backyard, it's just, the police are called. Of course, the way the police are is that they just show up and they're like, ooh, a boxing match, and they just watch it. They don't care. They're like, oh, yeah.
In a St. Louis backyard.
Yeah. They're like, oh, this is fine. Everything's cool here.
The neighborhood you mentioned, for like the listeners that aren't local, like we're not talking like massive backyards.
No. These
we're talking small backyards.
These are city backyards. Sometimes you even open up the gates so, people could stand in the alley. People would be sitting on the roofs of garages and just watching it. And it was very raw. And, we make our own rings. We would, tie rope and with garden hose and with cables, and tie them around trees and posts, and put down carpet squares, tape them together so we have a little bit something, and try to flatten out the ground the best you could. And we were all trained. I mean, we weren't professionals, but no, we're not professional fighters. You're a professional fighter. You have more resources and you can do all these things. So we were just having some fun, and it was just me with other bartenders and roofers and artists and writer. Almost it was just a pretty wide cross section of people that were coming into there. I mean, the people that were known were, the higher profile, but, like the guy that was, didn't have a high, like a famous type job, that's fine. They were there too.
You said writer?
A writer.
Oh,
no, not writer. A writer would kick somebody's ass. That's for damn sure.
I was picturing writer in these boxing matches.
Well,
who works at the
I've seen him go toe to toe, but not
okay.
not in a boxing match. So,
I see.
But I would be very careful about how to line up somebody with him. He's a tough dude.
Good to have on your staff.
Absolutely. If the shit goes down in the room, you just want to make sure he's on your side, and he is. He's always on the right side of that shit. So.
So you guys are the way that this article sets it up, and the way that I'm hearing it from you is you're in the boxing game, but you're not in the boxing game.
Well, I wasn't officially.
You're not officially in, but you have a captive audience, as we've said on the show before.
So yeah, I tried to apply to become part of the Amateur Boxing Association, and it was run by some people that were not as open to having new people involved, and these people had. They had backgrounds and records and things like that, so it made it very difficult to deal with them when they would refuse to deal with you and speak to you in such a way where you didn't feel welcome and or physically safe. And so we just did it on our own. I'm like, oh, fuck it. If you're like somebody's telling you have to pay them and you can't do this, and then you have to making statements around you where you're like, I don't feel very comfortable being around you right now, and I'm just going to go play my basketball game in my backyard and you can just suck it, and that's basically what we did. And it was a big group of us. I mean, there was a few dozen people involved in this whole thing. My father was a referee. We'd all referee, and then, we'd train, and, there'd be knockouts. We would even have doctors at these things because doctors, they enjoy boxing too. They'd show up and be like, just stand over there.
Just in case.
Yeah. And, you're we wouldn't have a doctor around when we're sparring. So it wasn't like,
it wasn't for that.
Yeah.
They were just literally,
they were literally just having fun.
Right.
They were like, yeah, I can be your EMS guy if it comes down to it. And it never came down to that. We weren't doing like, the professional stuff where they let it go further. You'd stop them a lot more quickly, headgear and, heavier gloves and everything. So, but we did that. So it got a lot of, so this is what I was doing, like literally just in the years before I was doing this. I was bartending. I was driving. I was a driver. I was, whatever I had to do to make some money. And then this, I was trying to make money at. It's not much money in it, but I opened up a gym we, first we're running out of friends' garages, and then I was like, fuck it, I'll have my own. But so this one in particular, Bob Castley, the founder and creator of City Museum, came to one of the fights over off Vandeventer in a tiny ass backyard too. He liked it and he wanted me to do some at City Museum. Now this is before monstrosity, the big thing on the outside just starting to be built. At the time, Bob Castley was banned from the interior of City Museum because he's a maniac and it's whatever, it's an artist.
Mm-hmm.
So he just started building on the outside of it because he's the owner of the building. And this was despite the whatever, just some petty shit that he was into. And I was like, yeah, sure, we'll do some fights there. So he built a ring, like a real ring with real enough ropes. I mean, like I was being called out because they weren't regulation because you're supposed to have 4 ropes and not 3 ropes. I'm like, well,
not on the roof, right? Like this is
no, it's not on the roof. This is down where the ball pit is.
Oh, nice.
So all the scaffolding had just been built. The ball pit had not been built yet. And he built a ring. It was elevated. It was nice. It was solid. Like this thing, well, I like everything he built. Like it was going to last long, like probably centuries. But then he would cut it apart and just use it again for something else because he's a maniac. So we built this thing, and the boxing authorities at the time didn't like that, and they said that we couldn't do it, and they would send over all these people with these dubious sounding agencies and authority to saying that I couldn't do it. But essentially the law enforcement didn't really care because it's like, this really isn't a thing that is a threat to public safety. Like if you want to enforce something, you have to enforce it, but it has nothing to do with really law enforcement. I mean, the law enforcement didn't really care about it. And so, I mean, but they were showing up, and there was, not going to lie, there was intimidation tactics going on. And some people, a couple people, really only one person dropped out because of it. And some people, we were all kind of on our toes a little bit. And but we did it, and there was thousands of people showed up to this thing, and it was a bit, I mean, there's so many side stories to this whole thing, but Bob Castley fought Pablo Weiss, who was up there. He was a restaurant and club owner downtown who I'd worked for and was sort of a known thing, and people loved cheering against him, and they loved cheering against both of them. I mean, Bob Castley was, while being very popular, was also, he was a strong personality, so people like cheering against, and people cheer against me too sometimes when I'd fight.
And you were fighting too?
I only fought in the first 3 that I did. And
yeah, because you seem like you really liked promoting and producing the fights.
Yeah, I made sure that the fighters
were
in
the ring too. That's
fun.
Fun.
Yeah. So I'd spar them, and
I don't think it's fun, but you thought it was fun.
Yeah, I mean, about, it was like 4.5 years ago, almost 5 years ago, I actually did have another fight, and I did one off the books and everything.
Yeah, I was gonna say, because like where did it land? It landed with, all right, we can't do these anymore.
Well, they told them that we couldn't. They
not
told
worth the effort.
They told them that we couldn't do them anymore, and we did them anyway. And
right.
Eventually, after I did this one, then I sat down and said, okay, if you want me to do this legit, I'll do it legit, but you can't jam me up like you've been doing.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm fine with doing rules, but you can't just not allow me to do it.
Yeah.
So then I started doing them sanctioned, and I had the gym. So I was running a gym up on North Broadway in Cass for a couple of years. Well, we moved around a little bit, but then I opened up the Royale, and then it became, as you're opening a brand new spot, and I had a gym going on the other side of town, and they take focus, and I was just like, I just couldn't do it. I remember the smoke alarm went off at the bar, and I'm up there like, holding mitts for some kid, and I'm like, man, I got to pay attention to this thing right now. And so I kind of let it on its own, but it wasn't able to really survive on its own, at least in the vision I had, and it kind of turned into something else and eventually went away. It was fine.
Yeah, we know how that story ends. The Royale. You made a choice.
Yeah, oh yeah, for sure.
For sure, right? And then we see where the Royale goes. But I guess my ultimate question then becomes, as we start to look forward, is that something you do again?
Well, I do,
because if people know that you did that, they might be like kind of wondering, is that going to come back?
Well,
around?
I do sponsor fighters, and I do keep in touch with a lot of the old fighters. Now, they were kids. They were like, they're in junior high when even younger, somewhere like between like 10 and 14 these kids are. Now these kids are in their 30s. And so I see them around, I talk to them, and some are doing well, some are not doing so well. I mean, it's just, you take an allotment of kids from the neighborhood, and it's just, I'm real proud of some of them. In fact, there's so many I should hip you to because they're doing some pretty interesting stuff. But
Let's
anyway,
do it. Yeah, it sounds like I might run into them at the Royale.
you might. They are full serving, man. They're fun. So yeah, I do still sponsor fires. Like I had a coach I was working with. He's a legend, Buddy Shaw. His grandson, Stephen Shaw, is actually fighting the night of the anniversary in Maryland at a casino. It's a TV fight, and or I don't even know what they call them anymore, but a TV fight essentially is what you call them. And we are I'm going to show that on the courtyard. So yeah, so I'm even going to and the other thing that we're going to be showing too, and this is going to be kind of fun, and I guess I could probably upload it to YouTube or something if I had the inclination and focus to do that. But so when I opened up the Royale 20 years ago, I was up in Chicago the January prior, and I was up there with my friend Tim O'Connell. We were checking out bars, for me to realign the whole vibe and what I was going to do. So, driving up there, we're talking about it, and then we get there. I say, okay, we got to go all these neighborhood bars. We kind of bring it together. And I met up with my friend Paul Reddig, who is he does video work for the government essentially. But at the time, he would talk to a lot of producers doing cable network shows. So a Food Network producer friend of his, well, she was shopping work. He hipped her like, yeah, this guy owns a boxing gym's trying to open a bar and restaurant in St. Louis. Do you want to cover it? And she's like, hell yeah. So we linked up with that and I was just doing research for the bar. Next thing you know, they sent me like a camcorder. This is like before really, I had just gotten a cell phone. This wasn't like, it was a different type of world. I was using email to communicate, and that was it. You know? So,
like 2003.
This is 2000, early 2005. So I mean, but in that general time period, so 2003.
Yeah, 20 years.
So I was running the gym. I was doing this stuff. So she
sent you a
camcorder. Like, I don't know if it was VHS or what, and whatever. It may have been like a digital tape in there at that point. I'm not sure. I don't remember, but they sent it to me. It was kind of an expensive thing to send you, but it was from the Food Network. And so I was just running they're like, just get B-roll. And I'm like, all right. And then she came down a couple times with a camera crew from, she was living in Chicago at the time. And they did a whole show on me on the Food Network for a 30-minute show about opening a restaurant. Like
that's amazing.
Yeah, it was so silly though, because like, oh man, like I'm sitting there, I'm just trying to open a restaurant, and
you're literally just trying to do it.
I'm just trying to do this, and I have a fucking TV crew following me around.
Like someone like interviewing
and like
your first year.
They're like, "Can you walk down the street again?" I'm like, "I'm just trying to get to work, man. I'm not doing that shit." Like, "Can you look a little bit more anxious?" I'm like, "No." Yeah.
Early exposure, you're like you're like, I'm not. Like, come back in 2 years, like.
Right, yeah. So they're following me around the gym, and they're following me around town. They're following me around, and I haven't watched this thing since 2005.
Oh.
And I hadn't watched it because it's sort of like, and I know a lot of people because it's like hearing your voice when it's recorded. You're kind of. You're like, I just don't want to listen to my voice recorded. It's not how I sound.
Yeah, some people never look back on the stuff they're in. Ever.
So I'm like, there's a lot of shit that's written about me. It's not like I go back and read it. It's like I know what it was.
Right.
And sometimes they're like, oh, somebody wrote something about you. I'm like, I'm sure. And they'll tell me, oh, they fucked this up on there. I'm like, whatever, man. I don't care. It's like I'm not. I mean, unless it was like something terrible, I'm not too concerned about it.
Or good stuff, Like I was thinking, like that was great exposure for a new restaurant opening 20 years ago, and let's get to the 20 years now. So with that, we'll take a break, and we'll be right back.
Escape to a spectacular universe. Pretty Guardian Sailor Moon, the Super Live. The legendary manga and anime comes to life in an unforgettable stage spectacle. Witness the sensation. Feel the power. Be part of the phenomenon that has captured hearts around the world. Prepare to be enchanted. playing the Fabulous Fox on April 8th at 7:30 p.m. Get tickets at fabulousfox.com.
Hey superhero fans, it's Logan here from Mostly Superheroes. To celebrate 40 years of Voltron, we've got something truly special for you. The Little People Collector Voltron 40th Anniversary Gold Label Set. This buildable set features the 5 original Defenders: Keith, Lance, Pidge, Hunk, and Princess Allura. Each figure comes with a helmet featuring a metallic finish and clear visors, except for Pidge, who needed room for his glasses. But that's not all. These Space Explorer figures are packaged in individual lions that you can assemble to form the mighty robot Voltron, ready to defend the universe from King Zarkon and his nasty Robeasts. Head to store.voltron.com, linked up in the description of this podcast episode, and snag yours today. You can get 15% off your order by using promo code MOSTLY at checkout. That's store.voltron.com, and remember to use promo code MOSTLY. Hey squad, Logan here. You know what keeps our adventures fueled? The incredible brews from Four Hands Brewing Company. They've been our go-to craft brewery since 2012. Our studio fridge is always stocked with their finest, from Citywide Light to Incarnation to Divided Sky to Chocolate Milk Stout, along with the latest seasonal and small batch releases. Whether you're downtown, Kirkwood, the district in Chesterfield, or passing through St. Louis Lambert Airport, Four Hands has you covered. Grab a cold Citywide. They're a philanthropic brew created to give back to the St. Louis community. Since its launch in 2016, Citywide has raised over $300,000 for local nonprofits. For every case sold, $1 is donated to carefully selected charities. If you're in the mood for something different, check out Four Hands Extended Family 1220 Spirits and Withered Oak. They've got cocktails, seltzers, and non-alcoholic options to quench any thirst. And a special deal for you Mostly Superheroes fans. Mention Mostly Superheroes or the password MOSTLY to your bartender at any Four Hands location and you get your second beer free. Must be 21 years of age to redeem. Again, go to any Four Hands location, mention Mostly Superheroes, password MOSTLY, and get your second beer on us and Four Hands. Limited time promotion. Get it while supplies last. Visit them in person or head over to fourhandsbrewery.com. Follow them at Four Hands Brewing Co. on Instagram and social media. Cheers to great beers and even better times with Four Hands Brewing Company. April 1st through June 30th, Charity on Tap kicks off at Alamo Drafthouse St. Louis. For every Four Hands Citywide American Pale Ale, you're getting $1.50 donated to Team Jakey. Hit that button, Andy.
Hit it. I can't wait. We're building something big. Hang out, have a beer. $1.50 goes to Team Jakey, like you said. So that's awesome.
It doesn't matter if you go to the Meaning of Bar there in the lobby or if you're sitting at your seat, you get that promo. And the first 100 patrons do get a limited edition koozie made for a Citywide and as well as a sticker pack with stickers from all the people involved. So get over to Alamo April 1st to June 30th. Hey, it's Logan from Mostly Superheroes, and we're teaming up with Team Jakey and Four Hands Brewing Company to bring you some awesome community events. Free-to-play TV and film trivia bingo. Thursday night, April 24th. Mark your calendars, come out to Four Hands Brewery, downtown location. Doors open at 5. Bingo from 6 to 9. Play solo or with a team and have a good time with Team Jakey, Mostly Superheroes, some surprise guests, and amazing prizes from all your favorite local businesses like Steve's Hot Dogs, Four Hands Brewing Company, the Royale Food Spirits, the Gramophone, the Voltron Store, City Winery, St. Louis, and many more. We'll see you Thursday night, April 24th. Come out for TV and film trivia bingo and find all of our event information at mostlysuperheroes.com/events.
Hi, everyone. I'm interrupting this podcast to talk about another podcast. Hi, I'm Randy Naughton. You know that lady from TV for so many years? Well, I too have a podcast called More to Say with Randy Naughton. Interesting conversations with interesting people. And when I say interesting, I mean amazing people. What about the Mac Daddy of all sportscasters, Bob Costas? Phyllis from The Office. Phyllis Smith is her name. Alan Hunter, one of the original MTV VJs. We talk to people about medicine, about tech, about travel, you name it. great conversations. Now, they're, again, not interviews, they're conversations. So you never know where they're going to take us. Make sure when you're done with this podcast, check mine out. It's called More to Say with Randy Naughton, available wherever you stream your podcast.
And we have an announcement. Taps for Team Jakey is back. Sam Zeller, how are you, man? Welcome back.
Better after this news.
This is good news.
This is long time coming. 8 years plus since we've had this event, so this is going to be great.
May 22nd at the Four Hands downtown. Yeah, we got a mutual friend in Four Hands. You guys have been working with them forever. And May 22nd, mark your calendar, 2025, Team Jakey's back.
Yeah, I want to pack the place.
Yeah.
As much as they'll let us.
Welcome back from the break, talking with Stephen F. Smith. That's for, is that for Fitzpatrick?
Fitzpatrick, yeah.
Is it Steve or Steven? What do you have a preference?
No preference.
Does it change?
If you write it down, I'll always write Stephen, but I appreciate both names. So
My instinct is like,
whatever rolls off your tongue.
It's
better.
Steve.
Yeah,
Like, for me, it's Steve.
Yeah.
And I want to talk about what's going on. 20 years is coming up. It's next weekend, but this is coming out today on Friday, April 4th. What do you got this weekend?
So let me see. Friday night. Actually, I don't even have a flyer for it, but I got a couple DJs. I got a bunch of the old KDHX DJs are coming through. Bobby Sweet's getting married, so he's having his bachelor party, and he's gonna have some people play some records. So some John Wendland and some other guys. Let me see on Saturday. Let me see. It's this Saturday.
April 5th.
Yeah, April 5th. Yeah, I've got like Orlandez is playing some records. He's always killing it. And then, but let me see the big stuff. And I got Stan. He's playing records on Monday. He's great.
Monday, April
7th. Yeah,
7th. Nice.
He's been playing there for years. 18 and counting. He did. He was one of the main guys that did the mural behind the Royale of Cool Papa Bell, and that's sort of like I have a mural on the back of my building because back in the late 30s, early 40s, there was a baseball park that was across the street where the old empty tire shop is. And it was the St. Louis Stars played there, the Negro League team. And so I put a little thing on back there. And Stan did that. And he's been a teacher. He's an artist. He throws great fucking parties, man, for it's called the Screwed Arts Collective. It's over there off Cherokee Street. It's kind of parties where they don't start until 11:30 midnight.
Wow.
Yeah.
Late night scene.
Oh yeah. It's he'll throw those maybe quarterly. You know, so super fun parties. I always try to make. Sometimes I even work door for them because I get those old nightclub vibes in me. You know, where you run door and you collect money and you make sure people are regulated enough to go in and out of the place.
Yeah.
So yeah, I got that. But the big stuff. The stuff that I'm working on. Let me see. The parties for the 20th anniversary. Essentially, it'll first start on Thursday. I have a Thursday lunch that I do on the regular.
So this will be a Thursday, April 9th?
9th, yeah.
Nice.
So I'm not sure that's on the list, but I do a regular lunch, just sort of,
to kick stuff off.
Yeah, well, I do it every Thursday, too. So I just hang out, it's just friends coming by, some dudes who are in retirement or people that, like, have jobs that allow them to not have, have their Thursdays open. It's just kind of a casual time to come down. And it's not like a pack thing, but anywhere from, like, 3 to 15 or more people show up on the reg for that kind of thing.
Nice.
And so I'm assuming there'll be some more people there. And sometimes that's when we experiment with some of our food. And then on Friday night, I'm calling it the alumni party. I mean, after 20 years, I've had hundreds of people who have worked at the Royale.
Yeah, this is awesome. This is Friday, April 10th. If you worked at the Royale, listen up, right?
Yeah, and there's a lot of you out there. Jesus Christ. I went through all the payroll records, at least as many as I could find. It's like, you don't have your records? I'm like, from 20 years? No, I don't. I don't keep that kind of. But I do have, at least digitally, I keep a fair amount of the stuff. So I've contacted the people I could find. Just trying to get them out, because I have such fond feelings for the people that have worked at the Royale. I mean, they're your people, and you look out for them, and they'll be coming in. Hopefully, I can't say exactly who's coming in, but I'll have some people playing some records, and we'll just be, raising glasses and catching up. And,
kind of friends and family.
Yeah,
on Friday.
Absolutely,
it's kind of friends and family. Like, you're not telling people not to come by, but just be warned. It's going to be a friends and family party there that day.
Right. It's not. I mean, the general public, like my general friends, you can show up to that night, but it's kind of like the party is on Saturday.
Yeah.
And so that's the fun one. So I'm actually
April 12th.
April 12th. So knowing me, of course, I'm going to overprogram shit. So
I'll be there. So you're getting me all jazzed up right now.
So at noon, I'm actually not going to be at the Royale. I decided to go ahead because I've done this the last, 14 years or so. Most record store days, I've played records at Vintage Vinyl.
Oh, nice.
And so I was like, oh, screw it. I'll go ahead and play records, Vintage Vinyl, on my big anniversary day when I don't have the time. Or
Right, when you're already doing too much.
So I'm going to do this at noon at Vintage. So I'll be over there on Del Mar.
Oh.
I'll be playing records for an hour with my pal, Jeff Lopino.
Wow,
And-
Jeff on his big day. That's nice.
Yeah. And so
I guess you promote your big event all morning at least, or
yeah. I'll be out. Yeah, I'll be there, and I'll tell people to run down the Royale.
There you go.
And then so then that afternoon, I'm having one of my favorite bands. They're called Hut.
But you're open though, so people
we
can
open
go
at
get
11:30.
lunch.
Yeah,
you're
you
open
start
at 11:30.
Yeah, start at 11:30. You can start getting lunch. You can start coming in.
But some activities start around 3, right?
Yeah. So the activities start around 3. I've got a band called Hut, HUHT. And they're kind of like, I don't know, a spacey, fun, electronic rock band, maybe. I don't know, man. I don't know how to describe it, but I really like them. No vocals. And they usually just play basement shows and then occasional random shows. They're not trying to be rock stars, but they sound great.
Nice.
So they're going to be at 3, and then I'm going to have a variety show, and that's going to be hosted by Amanda Doyle, and I'm still working on a few things on that one.
I know Amanda with Reedy Press. And she's an author, local author.
Old friend of mine.
And an old friend of yours.
Yeah, we used to get...
Amanda's great.
Yeah, we used to start some shit back in the day.
She's hilarious.
Oh, she's great. She's one of my... She just lives down the street, too. She's been an old friend of mine from long before I opened the Royale.
So she's hosting a variety show, 4 o'clock.
Yeah, 4 o'clock.
Cool.
And then I'm looking also for submissions for people that may be able to do stupid pet tricks or stupid human tricks, because it's a variety show. So we're going to see how it goes. So if you know of any animals or people that do any stupid shit.
We know all the weirdos, man.
Okay, well, then send them my way.
And that's a compliment on this show. So it's a call to arms.
So yeah, we got that going. That's going to be going for, I don't know, an hour or so. And then I'll be having people play records throughout the day.
Of course.
That's what we do. I've got a record player behind the bar, and I pull up more records so you can really set it up and do it. And
you help out, like some DJs have their whole setup. The ones that don't, you can help out, right?
Right.
It seems like you're always like, you've got some equipment on hand.
Right, yeah. And so, that's what I try to do. I used to run a college radio station in school, so it was just me creating a venue so people could have fun. And then at 7:30 around dark, in fact, I got to put the screen back up, but I've got a big screen in the backyard. We're going to show that episode of the
Food Network
show, Recipe for Success, featuring Steve Smith of the Royale.
The first days.
The first days, the opening day, me, and I was see, the thing is, I operated the Real Bar. So when I opened up 20 years ago, I was operating a place called the Real Bar, which was a very different type of place. They've been a place there since 1922. So I was operating like a continuously operated bar, and I was turning it more into like a restaurant and what I got going on now, kind of neighborhoody spot. And it was a very different place. Darts, people yelling at televisions with the games on, a lot of shots. It was just a different vibe, not the vibe I was trying to achieve. So I had like a notably rough transition from that crowd to where I was going, which was like 3 to 6 months to a year even of like people, because people, they love that old place, and they hated me because I was taking their place away. I'm like, man, I feel you, but
but now we're here.
Yeah, and that's where we are.
And the page is turning.
So then, we'll be watching that show, which is, it's going to bring back a lot of memories for me.
Oh, man. I say you got these toasts at 5. You got the show at 7:30.
Yeah.
I mean, you're going to be, I don't know if you get emotional, but.
Oh, yeah. We'll be doing it. So if you want to come and toast and or roast me, feel free to come down. You can step up and give me some shit.
Nice.
And then at night, I don't know exactly when the fight is, but one of the fighters I sponsor, Stephen Shaw, the big shot, he'll be fighting that night against a big Nigerian dude.
Raphael
I don't think I'm trying.
Akpajori.
Yeah, that sounds good to me. Yeah,
as my college try.
Yeah, that's
so. And then you're showing a fight at 9.
Yeah.
Like on the screen.
On the screen, yeah.
In the courtyard.
Yeah.
Bro, this is so cool.
So,
and then I mean, of course, your late night crew.
Yeah, and then I'll have people will be playing records still. I'll have you'll be able to watch the fight, and then you'll be able to
music inside.
Yeah, we'll have music
or maybe
outside.
Both.
We'll both. We'll do
You'll
both.
Figure it
because
out.
you're watching the fight, you don't necessarily need to hear the comment. I mean, you'll hear a little bit of commentary, but it's not like.
I like it though, and not just like the solo sounds of a sporting event.
Right? Yeah.
You have some music to go with it.
Yeah, and that's how I usually if there's a sporting thing on, unless it's the World Series, most people, it's you kind of watch it, but you're in a public environment. And if you want to yell at your TV, go to the yell at your TV place,
Yeah.
Although you could still yell at the TV. I'm not saying you can't, but just, where it's
not a Hot Shots.
Right, yeah. Exactly.
Nothing against Hot Shots. You'll find me at a Hot Shots sometimes.
No, and
okay?
There is a
most of the time
reason.
You'll find me
Yeah.
at the Royale. Honestly, Steve, I'm going to tell you right now, 20 years, man, your big party, obviously. Saturday, April 12th is the big public event. I mean, stuff all day, all night.
Yeah.
And just on behalf of everyone in the city and the community and me and Carrie and my friends, just good job. And thanks for all the work that you do to make it such a special place and a warm vibe and that light in there and the camaraderie and the tempo is good. The pacing is right. And it's just always just a nice time, whether I'm getting lunch or an afternoon drink or if I'm just feeling froggy on a Friday and want to be up late. You've been doing it. So this is everybody in St. Louis saying thanks.
Woo!
And congrats. This is your big moment.
Thank you.
This is like a 20-year look back. That's why I asked if you get emotional, because I'm like, hey, you're going to be partying. This is a look back, but it's also kind of like, the next 20 years. Maybe like that's what we're talking about. Like, like when you go on into the Royale, outside of these big parties, you do these big parties, but you got stuff almost like every single day, whether it's music and give people like your hours. You said you open at 11:30. Is that every day now, or what's your hours?
For now, I want
people to know like the general day to day if they're trying to come see you.
I'm closed Tuesdays. That could change in the future, but it's not changing yet. But I'm open every night, and then for lunch, I'm open Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and at 11:30. So you can come any night except Tuesday, but we're only open basically Thursday through Sunday on the during the day. I try to give myself a little bit more rest than I had before, because before I was 7 days a week, everything. It was driving me. I just need some space.
You got to have the space. You got to figure out how to make it work for you and your team.
Yeah. I lived above the place for 10 years, and now I just live behind there. So I'm pretty linked into everything that's happening in my few blocks of South St. Louis.
Yeah, that's kind of where I was going to go. Is like, obviously you can go to the Royale and get all the great food and drinks and the music we talk about, but you do a lot of collaborations.
Oh yeah.
You want to shout out some collaborations?
Oh yeah.
I can click on some of these.
So yeah. Hit up the Royale turn right there. Yeah, that one's good.
This is on the Royale Instagram.
Yeah. So very good friend of mine, David Kirkland, old friend. Family. He owns a really great spot over there on Locust, and he's been involved in a bunch of other things. Even he used to do club shows back in the day too. We did different types of shows, but we were getting into some shit back in the 90s. And so he came to me, wanted to do a collab. His food is excellent, his drinks are excellent, but he runs a daytime spot and he does catering. So his spot is like breakfast, lunch, and I do more of like lunch, more dinner and drinks kind of thing, and so he's a master in the kitchen. He works with he's working with my guys. He's got Ainsley Streeter involved in this, and my man in the kitchen, and then Heather at with the bar. We collab on drinks, and this one that we I guess now, speaking in the past now, will have been it's a Italian Caribbean vibe. We're doing these once a month. We're only gonna do one more, a little series. We did the first one, which was Louisiana Asian. It was amazing. We did that at my spot. We're going to do this one at his spot. Did this one at his spot. I don't know how to speak about this and, the tense. But that one's really good. So then the final one we'll do will be on the first Thursday of May.
Nice.
We're going to do a garden party, and that'll be at the Royale. The other stuff coming up, our big signature party. This will be our 20th annual Kentucky Derby party.
Heck yeah, that's your big one. Another big one for
you.
So
this is our signature party every year, and people know about it. Sells out. I actually still have a handful of tickets left. I just put them on sale yesterday, though.
Ooh, okay, yeah. So this is May 3rd.
May 3rd, yes, May 3rd. So we open at 2.
That's a Saturday.
Saturday. Yeah. Kentucky Derby is always the first Saturday of May.
Oh, nice.
And we have a dress code. You got to come dressed correct, and you got to. So the ladies all wearing, gloves and nice hats, and
yep.
everything, and then
Maybe some suspenders for the guys or bow ties or something, maybe. Hats,
nice
some
shoes,
nice hats.
nice hats. So we have a hat contest that day.
Okay.
And then, I've got a really great band, Don Weber's Boogaloo Crew. It's a Cuban band, and I'm a big fan of Cuba and Cuban music. I've been to Cuba a few times. And so they'll be going down. I got some good friends in the band, and we are. And then I also have the St. Louis Banjo Club, which is a group of banjo enthusiasts from St. Louis.
Oh.
And they look like how you would expect a group of banjo enthusiasts to look like. And they're going to be, bringing people as you walk in. They'll be playing, and then the band will kick off around 4 or so.
Heck
And
yeah.
then the horses run at 6, just before 6, and then the band will just do a short little set after that. But it's a beautiful party. The weather's, knock on wood, looking really strong for both these Saturdays. It's always a bit of a gamble in the spring. So that's a party, and we've had great bands play. In fact, we've had 2 bands that have gone and played on late night shows. We had Madison Ward and Mama Bear. I think they were on Letterman. And then we had Pokey Lafarge. He played one too, and he was on one of those late night shows.
Yeah, he's been on some significant tours.
Yeah,
he's seen him a few times. I saw him the first time ever at Blue City Deli.
Yeah, that's the kind of thing. He definitely like dug in local here for a good 10 years. I just remember when he drifted through. I met him like literally when I think he was still like sleeping on the street, kind of thing. Almost, it was kind of funny.
Wow.
And we would pal around a little bit, but he's a character himself.
Nice, man. Well, May 3rd, get to the Kentucky Derby party. 20 years of that as well. 20 years on, right around the corner. This is next week. This April 12th. You got to at least come by for a little bit. Or you can be like me. I'm going to come hang out for a while.
Hell yeah.
I'm excited. Dude, Steve, thank you so much for coming
thing.
in. The Royale, like right here in town, Kings Highway, 20 years. Anything else on your heart that you want to share before we wrap up? This is the final call. And thanks again for, you always see the Royale gift cards at all of our events. You are always so good to throw in something to get somebody. Yeah. I like it selfishly because I'm hoping it goes into someone's hands it's never been, and we get to send you someone new. But I know that we've had some people just that actually, they come looking for your gift cards now at our events. I'm not even kidding. Like, you got the Royale. You got the Royale. So thank you for that. But anything else on your heart that you want to get off your chest before we
I guess the only other thing is that I do have I appreciate what you do here with podcasts. I've been involved in broadcasting in some respect, from whether it's college radio or even I've done my own podcast, but I also worked at KDHX for years. I was working there 30 years ago as an intern volunteering, and it's just a very short thing, but it's been a very sad thing. The station leadership is looking to sell the license, and it's a community asset. So it's not, I don't own it, but I own it about as much as everybody else in the community owns it. So if it gets sold off, it will go into the hands of a private interest that's a conglomerate, and that's a community asset, that upholds our community identity. And these, I appreciate all levels of broadcast, but radio has a real sweet spot for me, and it still is very strong in the community. Almost everybody still listens to the radio every once in a while. And
I agree.
You can look at the stats on that. While other venues have gone through, I used to listen to tapes in my car too, but I would still listen to
they're on the radio,
local
radio.
And you still do. And the thing is that once that goes away to something national, it's then everybody loses on that. And there are people out there like myself and a lot of other people. It's been a huge groundswell of the community trying to retain this thing back in. And I just only hope that the powers that be and the people and the decision makers at hand that can make this thing stay in the community, I really hope it can stay in this community, because once it's gone, you just don't get another license. You can't just start a new one. They don't hand it out. You just can't make an application and get a new one. It can take, it's way more expensive and can take decades to get, if at all, ever. So KDHX has been an incubator for so many great things, and they created, there's a real glue to a music scene, and they had a lot to do with certain, even we call them talk shows. Now, they weren't before podcasts. I used to be an engineer like you, Logan, and I would, I did a lot of the newsy types of stuff, but it really gave voice to independent voices, and it wasn't like pre-done playlists. These are people that are just passionate about music or passionate about their communities, and we were given that outlet, and it really brought people together. It was just such an asset to our community, and I really don't want to see it go. And
Do you think it can be saved?
I think it's possible, but it's not a done deal at all.
What can people do anything?
Okay, there's people that are very involved with trying to preserve the radio
I
station.
feel like I've seen Kara Spencer posting some
Kara,
things.
yes,
She's
Kara
been
Spencer.
saying,
Yeah, she's
help KDHX. Don't let this happen.
she's one of the candidates for mayor, and actually the current mayor too is also Tashara Jones has made some very strong statements as well, wanting to retain this asset in the community. So there are people that are involved. There's an organization called the Love of KDHX, which is the DJs.
I follow them on Instagram.
Right, yeah. So they are the DJs that got fired from the radio station. So because they have say in how the radio station's operated, but the board fired them. And there's been lawsuits, and they've lost lawsuits, and it's nuts because of how far it's gotten. It really doesn't need to go this far. There's just not confidence in that leadership, and that's was at the core of this. But the leadership, when people lose confidence in you, it doesn't matter if you're right or not anymore. It's sad that can be the case.
Yeah.
And you can disagree or agree with what's happened in the past, but you got to look forward to the future and retaining this asset for people that are going to come after us. And that's super important because that kind of access, radio is like the rawest access to media that you can get. Everybody can get access to the radio.
You turn it on.
Right. But the thing is, half our community doesn't have access to broadband.
Right.
That sucks.
Right.
And I mean, hopefully that'll be the case, but that's not coming soon. And if you can have access to that radio, you're really reaching a lot of people that just don't have that access.
Yeah.
And we got to keep this in the community. So the Love of KDHX is collecting support, if you feel so inclined, writing letters to the court, writing letters to the editor of the newspapers, letting people know and giving them your support is really what can be done now. And there are active actions that are happening to try to preserve it, but it's not a done deal at all because it's basically in a bankruptcy court situation. And but there's a lot of smart people that are really wanting to keep this, and hopefully we can retain this in community. And that's one last thing I really want to say, because it's all about the opportunity. Like, you want to have your voice spoken,
yeah,
and it's just creating the general culture of this thing. Even if you're not even in KDHX, we benefit from this.
Exactly.
And I mean, I had a podcast that wasn't on KDHX, but that doesn't mean it's like, well, screw that. It's like, no,
absolutely not.
Yeah.
No, we work hand in hand with the local stations. You'll see,
right?
And like KDHX is part of that,
right? Yeah,
and this whole story, I've been following it via you as kind of a person from afar, and that's why I'm glad we're talking about it. It's just helping. Like, a lot of people don't understand, like, what's the issue. It's like it's a classic business bullcrap, bad leadership. They might sell it in the community. It was who might suffer.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Like, there's a whole channel. If you think of it that way, there's only like a few channels that people can get to for the info in their area.
Right.
This is one that they've counted on for a long time.
And this one has the whole community. And like, what I'm hoping happens, if it gets saved, we can make an even better radio station. There's always been room for improvement, and I could see KDHX becoming even a better spot. And seeing just the groundswell that's happened is just total proof that there is such a need and appreciation, such a necessity for our culture, and it would be a real, true loss. And I just hope that enough of these things can happen where it can get to that point. And I don't know if it can. It's not a guarantee, though.
It's about people.
Not a guarantee, though. So
you got to have people in the room to do what we're talking about.
Yeah.
Can you shout out any other local stations that have like stepped up?
I do know
it's a touchy subject, because we're not trying to say that there's a replacement or anything.
Oh, I mean, the thing is, I was like, KDHX is a unique station in amongst all these other stations. When I listen to the radio, I don't have just KDHX program. I'm sure there's some people out there that just listen to it, but like,
you bounce around.
Right. I bounce around.
Me too.
I bounce around all the time, man. I'll listen to the NPR, I'll listen to KMOX, I'll listen to KSHE, I'll listen to 100.3 The Beat. I'll listen to all sorts of stations.
Mostly superheroes
podcast. I listen to.
Okay.
So I mean, there are like George Mahi and has a podcast out there. It's great. Like, I listen to other podcasts too. It's great. It's like we're so fortunate too. The access has gotten better, but the whole thing is, I was like, we're trying to support some of these core institutions that really can be a part of this, that have been there, that still have great value. It's not like, if you look at like radio stats over the last 20 years, it's not that far down. It's not like like print has taken a big hit, but radio is not
one after the other.
Right. It's not It's not. You know, like they've been talking about the demise of radio for a long time, and it has not gone away. Now there's been other stuff adding in, but you know, like there was cassettes back in the 80s. You know, there's like CDs. There's you know, there was cable TV. You know, you could listen to Muzak or whatever. It's like things. There's different things, but the radio it's gone in, and young people still actually listen to the radio too.
Yeah, there's stats to back it up. You're totally right.
And so, and in many ways, with the conglomerations taking over all sorts of stuff, it makes it even more valuable, way more valuable than it's probably ever been, because it's like the local stations, a lot of them are not quite as local as they used to be. They don't have quite as much local program. There's still some out there. I don't want to throw it on them, but like there's fewer. And if you look at them, like how like these big corporations will suck them up, and it's like the radio, they might do like, you know, 4 hours of local programming a week, if at all.
If
you know?
that.
Yeah.
And outside of that, it's just.
And it's just sad because like this is our regional, we have such a potent regional identity. And if we're just going to keep suppressing that and just stripping it away, you know, we all lose. We all lose. I mean, we'll still have the identity, but we can't really celebrate it and feel that connection to each other. And that's sad. Like, I mean, yeah, they'll still be funny people, but you're not going to know about them. They're not going to hear about the talented person that knows hella on a very specific type of music. You know?
Yeah, and it's not going to happen on Instagram. Like it's too buried. There's too many things.
Yeah.
Like you can't. You're searching for one needle and like the ultimate haystack.
Yeah, and that's
You're
frustrating.
looking for that local regional connection. And I'm totally with you, man. So we'll end it right there. Stephen F. Smith with the Royale Food and Spirits. You go find him on Kings Highway here in St. Louis. The Royale on Instagram is a great place to see him. The Royale events are all listed on Facebook. Just search The Royale and theroyale.com. Steve, we'll either see you at your place next time or come back in here again, man.
Absolutely, man. I love being on this. Thank you so much for inviting me out, Logan. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. See you next time.
All right. Cheers.
Mostly Superheroes is proud to be funded in part by our sponsors. Mostly Superheroes is funded in part by paying patrons who receive early, ad-free, and exclusive episodes. Subscribe at mostlysuperheroes.com/support. Thank you for supporting your favorite independent podcast. Mostly Superheroes is an independent podcast owned and operated by Carrogan Ventures in St. Louis, Missouri. Hosted by Logan Janis, Andy Hunn, and Scott Swearingen. Brand and creative by Carrie Clark Design. Music by Audionautics. Learn more at audionautics.com. Find more at mostlysuperheroes.com.